the torture was real, but we escaped and we enjoyed it, and looking forward to the next session. Leg day was a killer, but fantastic. So made me think about something training and behavior related. Well, it's all behavior related, because until we die we're behaving, so behavior science is important to understand. When we think about motivation, so I was going to the gym and then like trying to keep fit, and then I lost motivation. I stopped going for a number of months. I was eating crap, and then I was like, well, I need to build up motivation again, but I don't have any motivation to go. And we kind of treat motivation internally like I've run out of motivation, or the learner doesn't have any motivation, or like the motivation is inside of them. But when you cut them open, where do you see that motivation? You don't. Is motivation really just internal? Or are we, if we focus on the contingencies and building contingencies with positive reinforcement, motivation will come, or reinforcement in general. So for example, I wasn't going to the gym at all, and so I was like, well, when I feel motivated I go. But where will that motivation come from? The motivation will come from environmental changes. So when you arrange your environment in certain ways, maybe say I started to sleep, I arranged my environment so more sleeping behavior occurred, then maybe that made it more likely that I went to the gym that day. Maybe my motivation was low, but when I went to the gym, my behavior contacted reinforcement, my behavior contacted like success. And when I did it and I succeeded the workout, then my future probability of behavior under these conditions are going to increase. So maybe tomorrow, the day after, I was like, okay, I want to go back now. And so suddenly I was like, well, I have more motivation today. So we have to think about what in the environment arranges, or how do we arrange the environment? So our behavior contact reinforcement, and then how does that change how motivated we're feeling? And we can arrange the environment in many different ways. We can establish things, consequences as reinforcers, make them more valuable as reinforcers. So for example, depending on how much we sleep or how we eat, or even if we arrange the environment to be able to go, okay, I put my gym clothes on, I went to the gym, I stepped into the gym, I did 5 minutes, went home. Those 5 minutes of behaving and contacting consequences is going to potentially set you up, if it's successful, to want to go again. And so when we think about our learner's motivation, our dog's motivation, rather than thinking, oh, our dog's not motivated, let's think about how can we build and develop, engineer motivation. In one of Skinner's books, he talks about the idea. So a lot of times you hear people say, you can take a dog, you take a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And Skinner kind of goes, well, using behavior science, what we understand is you can take a horse to water and you can make it highly probable that they'll drink, because we can arrange motivation, what we call motivating operations. And so say you deprive the horse of water previously, or you take the horse for a long run and then you take them to water, it's highly probable that they're going to drink. So people say, well, you can take a horse to water but you can't make them drink. We can take a horse to water and make it probable that they'll drink or they won't drink. So it's really good to think about motivation through environmental arrangements, and if we do that, suddenly we have way more tools to help our learners succeed and contact way more reinforcers, have way more freer lives, and be able to for them to have way more freedoms. So it made me think about that today, and I wanted to share that with you. Let me know what you think. Write a comment, send me a DM, and speak to you soon. Hope you have a wonderful day. So one more thing before I go. So how do we use this in practice? Well, if we think about a human example, going to the gym, I can start to break my behavior expectation into smaller steps. So rather than going, I have to go to the gym, do a 1 hour workout, I can say, I'm going to put my clothes on, gym clothes on, and that's success for day 1. Day 2, I put my clothes on, I'm going to go towards my car, come back in, success. Day 3, get in my car, drive towards the gym, get to the gym, come back home. Day 4, go inside the gym, do 5 minutes on treadmill, come back home. And so if I'm building small approximations, small steps, but each time the step contacts reinforcement, it's success, then I'm going to want to do more. It's going to be more probable that I want to do more, and my motivation is going to increase. So we increase our motivation by setting up small steps arrangement of the environment between behavior and consequences, but that behavior is small enough that it contacts that consequence, that success. And that's the same for our dogs. So if we want our dogs to do something, say for example, we want our dog to step on a scale at the vets, and our dog's backs away from the scale at the vets currently. Rather than expecting them to just step onto the scales, we could start with day one. Can you even walk towards the door of the vets? And then we go. Can we go towards the door of the vets and go inside for one step, come back out? Can we go inside the waiting room, eat a treat, come back out? Can we go inside the waiting room, take a step towards the scale, come back out? And so we build small steps, which each one leads to success. And suddenly what we see is we go, wait, the confidence is growing, or they're less anxious, they're happier, or they're more motivated. And that motivation doesn't come from something inside changing because their belief system changed. That motivation is coming from the contingencies. So we arrange for that ABC or the WWW that we talked about in the previous video, and we make the criteria, the expectations that we expect small enough that they're going to access reinforcement, they're going to access success. And so we think of it as trial and success, not trial and error. In training, people often think it's trial and error. We try it, if we succeed, we get a prize or a reward, we contact reinforcement. If we don't succeed, we don't get that, and that's how learning works. And Skinner again talked about the idea of trial and success rather than trial and error. You set each trial up so that the behavior is likely to contact the reinforcer, success, good outcomes, because then that's going to make it more probable that behavior is going to occur in the future. If behavior occurs and it contacts like failure, then that behavior is not likely to occur. So therefore you might see less motivation, you might see not as happier behaviors. So I thought that was quite an important thing to add to the video, hence I added it in. And so again, I wish you a wonderful day and speak to you soon. Bye. One more thing to add, I forgot to add. So if you know about Mary Hunter, Jesus Rosales Ruiz, amazing people, I would highly recommend learning from them. So while I was driving, it made me think about that as well. When we talk about building up small approximations that are going to contact reinforcement and success, another way to think about it as well is, so Mary Hunter talks about, I heard her mention the idea about shape from something, not nothing. And in real life, there's always something, because you're not dead, you're doing something. But often when you try and build up behavior, you think, well, I have to shape from nothing. But Mary was saying shape from something, which was fantastic, and I loved it so much, and I've been borrowing that phrase ever since I heard Mary talk about it. And it was essentially the idea that when you're shaping, maybe if we teach responses and cues, and that not linear into where we're moving. So you want the dog to step on the scales, but maybe we work on practicing the dog walking on a yoga mat, or we practice the dog following us, we practice the dog touching our hand with their nose. And you think, wait, how does touching the hand with the nose help with stepping onto the scales? All of these different things, like stepping onto a yoga mat, or walking over and touching some kind of object, or going and following a ball and picking the ball up and then coming back and then going forward and picking the ball up again. All of these things, if we work on them and we strengthen them, we provide successful consequences for them, then our learner has access to these behaviors. And there's certain cues in the environment that evoke that responding, make it more likely that's going to happen, and then those consequences follow. So what happens afterwards, when we start working on stuff around the scales, there's already the behavior of follow the ball over an object, like over the yoga mat, or walk onto a yoga mat, or touch the hand and follow the hand. So we can use all of these little components, pieces of the puzzle, to bring together the behavior of going on the scales. So rather than thinking, well, it's the scales, I have to focus on walking onto the scales in small steps, we kind of think sidewards and teach lots of other variations of things that may not seem relevant in the moment, but actually all these pieces of the puzzle come together to create a behavior that essentially you weren't training, but you were training, if that makes sense. And so I think that's super important to consider when we're thinking about building motivation and building our behaviors, or building our learners' behaviors, is you don't always have to think in a straight line and think, oh, I need to train the dog to do X because this is driving us in this way to working towards walking on the scales, or me going to a gym. You can focus on working on things that may not seem relevant at all, like your sleep, your eating patterns, all these other things in the environment, and suddenly you go, oh, I'm going to a gym now, and I'm feeling motivated, but you weren't focusing on directly working on going to a gym. And so it's another useful way to build small successful patterns of behaviors that's going to help you eventually get to your goal without focusing too much on that straight line. So if you're if you haven't heard of Mary Hunter, Jesus Rosales Ruiz, I would highly recommend it. There's a book and a kit called Portal, and so look that up. It's fantastic for developing your training skills, your practical skills, your understanding of behavior science, and it evolved from Kay Lawrence's Jadena Cab, the table games, and so people that I love learning from, and I would highly recommend them. So definitely go check them out, and hopefully that was a useful addition to the video. And for the third time, hope you have an amazing day and look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye.